right now micro-influencers are actually becoming a thing, right? Because brands find that sometimes micro-influencers are more relatable to their audience, and they have like a very like specific niche as well. So, that can go hand in hand, right? Like if you have something of value that, brands might want, definitely reach out to an agency. And to be honest, I would always say try, because how would you know if you don't try, right? What's the worst that can happen?
Welcome to the Build Up Podcast. I'm your host, Priscilla Facey. We are talking to inspiring entrepreneurs about their financial past, present, and future. We're talking to people who were exactly where you are today. Today we have Toni.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
YouTube influencer, star, and in the beauty space.
Yeah.
And I am super excited about your story because it sort of seemed like this happenstance overnight success. As a beauty influencer, you have and you're doing what so many other young women and men want to do, and that is how to monetize social media. And so, okay, tell us how you got started. How you even came to this point in this moment.
Wow. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's great. I haven't done this before. So how did I start? So this was back in 2015. That was when I first had the idea of being on social media because I saw like so many, not so many, I saw like two girls in particular that looked like me. One was Jackie Aina, and the other one was Pick Mill, and I just loved them so much. I loved their energy. I loved how they interacted with their audience. And I was like, you know what? I want to be that. Wow. Like, I want to do that, right? So I had this friend at the time, and we were both kind of into makeup. And we decided to form like a small company to, help brides do their makeup and to help girls get ready for prom. Okay. So that's kind of how I got into the makeup scene at first. Okay. And then moving to the online presence, I decided to do a Halloween makeup tutorial, and that kind of went okay. I got like my first 1,000 views, and I was like, yes, I have 1,000 views. Oh my God, I'm so popular. So, that really encouraged me to keep going, and then I did, and that's how I ended up here.
Okay, so how many followers do you have on YouTube?
Right now, I think I'm around like 490,000, almost at 500. Yeah.
And on Instagram?
Like 150,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so that means that, so you started on YouTube.
I did start on YouTube, yes, but I had like a personal Instagram in the beginning. Yeah.
And so your audience really, a good chunk of them moved right over with you.
Yeah, I would say like a little bit, and then I had to like build my own Instagram to like attract my Instagram audience as well. Because what I find sometimes is once people love you on a particular social media platform, it's hard to like make that crossover, right? Because like the content you create on Instagram is so different from what you create on YouTube and Snapchat. So, your personality shows differently on various platforms, and people are going to be attracted to what you're showing, and Right.
And so YouTube is obviously more how-to tutorial type stuff.
Exactly. It's more like formal, Instagram is formal as well, right? But I get to show a little bit of my personality, every now and then.
Okay, so you start building this audience. You went from your first 1,000 views to heaven knows how many you're at right now. But at what point did you decide to monetize it? How did you actually do that?
Well, luckily for me, it happened by happenstance, right? I remember like my first major brand deal, they reached out to me via email, right? And they're like, hey, we really, really love your work. We love the video you did. We'd like to work with you. What are your rates? And I was just like, my rates? Okay. So, that's kind of how it happened. And then I was like, okay, if brands, see that I'm offering something of value to them, I should definitely be charging for it, right? And that was how I decided to monetize that platform.
But I want to point out how unique this is, because a lot of people get approached and their mindset is like almost a fear of losing a gig or an opportunity. And you're like, no, I got to charge accordingly. Like, they're reaching out to me.
Well, to be honest, I did have that fear because I was like, what should I charge? Like, I don't want to charge too low. I don't want to charge too much, So what I did was I went on this website. I think it's called Social Blade or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of put in your numbers, and they kind of give you a ballpark of how much you should be charging, you know. So I did that and added a few extra $1,000.
Of course. But you see, again, this is where your confidence and your valuation of self comes in, right?
Yeah, that's
Because a lot of
true.
people wouldn't have done that. I come across people all the time asking me how to monetize any business they're in, right? And oftentimes it's the case that, especially in a space where it's creatives, artistry, it's like, I'm so afraid to lose something, or I don't know how to price, but like you've got some level of a business acumen in there along with confidence.
I mean, I feel like also going to school, because I did take business management in school.
Got it.
So maybe that comes into play a little bit. I wouldn't know. But I would always say they came to you, right? They came to you for a reason. They see that you can offer them something of value, right? So you shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid to negotiate as well, right? Because that's what it is, right? You know, the company as well always wants to make sure they're paying whoever is doing this, you know, the best possible rate, you know, just so everyone is happy. So you just have to negotiate and not be afraid of negotiation, and that's it.
And so in those early days, were you doing the negotiations on your own?
Yes, up until last year, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were getting the contracts and you were signing back at changing the prices, reviewing the terms. So that's where your business degree really comes in.
I guess so. Thank God for Ryerson.
So, okay, and at what point did you decide, I've got to bring in an agency? Did the agency approach you? How did that work?
Well, I would say I think after doing it for about a year or two, I was actually always getting approached by a lot of agencies and MCNs, and I just really did not hear anything positive about them. Okay. You know, around that time, there were a lot of MCNs coming up, and typically like they take about 50% of your YouTube revenue. So even with YouTube as well, you're not getting 100% of your revenue, right? Because it's shared between you and Google. You get 55% and then they take 45% of that. So the MCN is going to come in and take 45% of that 55% that YouTube is giving you, right? So it's like you're going to do all this work, but for what? You know? So at that time, I did not see the need to have one, and I just knew that an MCN wasn't something that I was going to be interested in. So I did wait a long time, and after I was done with university, I wanted to start pursuing other things apart from social media, and I was like, you know what, it's time to get an agency. So I did a couple of meetings with, you know, I asked a lot of my influencer friends as well, like, hey guys, you know, about this agency, and just to ensure I was getting, you know, proper feedback.
Sure.
Yeah. And then last year, I approached them actually. I went in for a meeting, met up with a few different people, and I decided to go with the agency I am today, which is INF Agency. And they're amazing. Yeah, I love them so much. Oh my gosh.
Okay, MCN, what is that?
So pretty much it's kind of a media company.
Okay.
Right, so they come to you, they come to influencers and say, hey, we can help you get more brand deals. We can, you know, help you get songs so you don't get copyrighted on YouTube. If you have any issues with your account, we have contacts in YouTube and Instagram that can, you know, help you with any issues and stuff like that. But what I found at that time was they were more into lining their own pockets as opposed to looking out for the influencer, right? Yeah.
And you're the one doing all the work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and so you went from that to signing up with the agency you're with.
Yeah.
And how did that process work? Did you negotiate in terms of the rate that they take? What work do they do for you?
You can't leave any money on the table. Well,
You are such a business savvy woman.
I don't even know if it's the fact that I'm so business savvy or it's just the fact that I really like money, right? I don't know. You know, I don't know, but we'll see.
So wait, so take me back. So you said you don't know if it's that you're business savvy or if you really like money. Tell me how you grew up. Did you grow up privileged? Did you grow up poor? How was that?
I would say my upbringing was very interesting, right? I remember my early childhood years. My dad did not really have that much money. I would say, you know, we were middle class, but barely, right? And education in Nigeria is something that's so important, right? Like a lot of Nigerian parents really hammer down on the fact that, hey, my kid has to be educated, even if that means me skipping a meal every now and then to ensure, you know, they have proper education. So my parents prioritized my education, but we weren't really, you know, well off, you know. And then after a while, but when I was young, I actually didn't feel it that much, you know, because I had friends, I could go out, ride our bikes in the dirt, you know, it felt like a community. So like, you don't really know how much you're missing on until you get older.
I see.
Right? How I knew we were broke was, so when I was in, I think it was grade 7, college GS1, if you don't pay your tuition, they take you out of class in front of everybody, and they put you like on a red bench, and like you sit, and everyone is like, oh, her parents don't have money to pay her fees. Yeah.
This is traumatizing.
Right? But to be honest, like that really did not faze me, right? As I grew older, my dad, you know, he did very well for himself in his later years, right? And, you know, he was able to provide for us more than we could ever ask for.
Sure.
So.
Okay. So you've got this business savviness, and you are now negotiating with your influencer agency. And how did that process go? Because a lot of people honestly don't have the guts to do something like that, right?
Yeah. Ooh, well, the only thing I would say to that is, if you know, when it comes to your own business, you actually have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Right? You always have to have your best interest at heart, right? And that might mean, you know, not being afraid to speak up, right? So when I went in, I sat down with a couple of agencies, like I said before. And then when I went in with INF, went in there, they told me, okay, this is their standard rate, you know, this is what they can do, this is what they can do. And I was just like, you know what, I really appreciate that that's your standard rate. But this is what I am bringing. I've been doing this for so many years. I'm also talking to these guys and these guys, you
You're
know.
leveraging
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
other
You know, I really want to work with you because, you know, I really love your personality. I love how we gel, you know. So you always have to give them reasons as to why, you know, if they are making that cut back on their money, why it's going to be worth it for them.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is really prime negotiation skills. And this is stuff that you can't necessarily learn in school. So as I'm talking to you, I'm seeing that there's just something natural, like innate about you.
Yeah.
That is just like, I'm gonna fight for myself. I'm gonna value myself, you know, the way that I should be valued, and make sure that I get paid, period. And I mean, this quality, like this should not be lost on you. This is something that's rare and unique. And I speak to so many people, and this is something that I think people need more of.
Yeah.
You know, just that little bit of grit, and just not having fear that the opportunity could be lost. You're willing to sacrifice a lost opportunity in order to get what you think you're worth.
Yeah,
That's
of
really
course.
important.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and so you sign up with this agency, and tell us a little bit about what the agency does for influencers. Like if someone's starting out, they've maybe built a little bit of a following online, and they want to like start making some money and take it to the next level, what should they come prepared for?
Well, typically they just help you get brand deals, right? They talk to brands on your behalf. They do all your negotiation, your contracts. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that when you're creating content. You know what I mean? So all your energy can be directed into creating the content, as opposed to, hey, I have to respond to this email, I have to do this, I have to do that, which can be so tasking. I feel like that is underestimated so much in the influencer industry.
And it takes away from, you know, the creative juices that you want to just flow into the work.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, because you're always worried about, hey, am I going to charge them too much? I don't want to offend them, you know. But once again, if the agency, if the brand is coming to you, they came to you for a reason, and it would be very, very hard for a brand to like walk away, you know. So I always say it's always very beneficial for that rapport. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you, I know you said you did a little bit of research in terms of which agencies to kind of look at. Are there certain agencies that are big in the beauty space versus maybe, I don't know, the food space? Or does your agency kind of like do it all?
Well, that's a very good question. To be honest, I wouldn't know, because I just got into that myself last year when I was doing the research. But I would definitely say some agencies are better at handling beauty contracts as opposed to food, for example,
Yeah.
right? My agency, they do everything, but I would say they are more lifestyle focused,
Yeah.
right? Because when I was on my own, I was doing more beauty gigs with more makeup brands, strictly makeup brands, right? But now I'm working with more lifestyle companies, and that has been great. That has really been great.
So an agency is important because it can kind of diversify
Exactly.
things. They've got their network, and they're going to have
Exactly.
relationships that you may not have people
Exactly.
approaching you on your own.
That's so true.
And so when you're getting pitched, the pitch comes through the agency, they present it to you, and do you turn away a lot of gigs, or?
Yeah. For a number of different reasons. Sometimes my values just don't align with the brand.
Got it.
Number two, if the budget isn't my rates, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna pass up on this one. I'm sorry. So yeah, those are like the two big reasons I would typically turn away brands. Another thing to my audience as well, if I know they're not going to be receptive towards it, there is no way I'm going to do that. And I've made that mistake before, and I'm not trying to do that again.
Was there ever a time where you turned down a brand partnership opportunity because it just morally didn't align?
Off the top of my head, what I can think of is there was this sex toy company that reached out to me to do some YouTube video, and I was just like, you know what, my audience, they're very young. That's not what I'm trying to portray. It's not the right fit for me. Thank you very much. Your budget is nice, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's not the lane you're trying to go
exactly,
down right now. Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
Nigerian as well, like, what would my father say?
Key. I mean, and I know when we spoke previously, you had mentioned that it's funny that you sort of ended up in the beauty space because when you were young, you were not allowed to wear makeup.
Yeah, and I think it was also just an age thing as well, because my parents were like, why do you need to wear makeup? You're just 13, you're just 14, what do you need that for? And I was heavily into sports, right? Yeah. I remember I was on the football team, I was on the relay team, I used to compete like with other schools as well, so I don't even know where that switch came from, but yeah, when I was younger, makeup wear,
And for those people out there who are still at, growth stages, should you be focused on building your numbers and then approaching an agency to work with, or should you go straight to the agency and perhaps that can help you build numbers?
That's a very good question. I feel like it can go both ways. I mean, right now, micro-influencers are actually becoming a thing, right? Because brands find that sometimes micro-influencers are more relatable to their audience, and they have like a very specific niche as well. So, that can go hand in hand, right? Like if you have something of value that, brands might want, you definitely reach out to an agency. And to be honest, I would always say try, because how would you know if you don't try, right? What's the worst that can happen? Oh no, go build your numbers. And okay, that's a goal to do, and you work on building that, right? But I do know two people. I know of an influencer, Alma. I think her numbers on Instagram are around 20,000 or 17,000, and she's doing really well in terms of brand deals and everything. So you never know. Definitely say try.
Yeah. I think it's important too for people to even just gain the experience of positioning themselves, and go through the motions of, well, this is what it's going to be like to present yourself to an agency, get their feedback, and like you said, it's going to, even if they say no, you've learned something from it.
And they would always keep you in mind.
Oh, that's
Let me tell you something. Sometimes brands are so specific with what they want and with their campaigns that sometimes the agency itself might not even have enough influencers on their roster. But if you reach out to them before, they've kept you somewhere. So, if that opportunity comes up, guess who the first person is they're going to look for? It's you, right? Because you're there. Yeah.
So speaking of lifestyle, I know we spoke a little bit about your mom really embedding and ingraining in you the importance of owning property.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, remember when I said when I was growing up in the beginning, when I was very young, my dad wasn't really on his feet. My mom was the breadwinner for a while, a short time. And, she always just ensured that there was always food on the table, our clothes were clean, and she was just such a go-getter and a hustler, and she was an engineer as well. And she had all these other small businesses, and she owned properties. So, ever since I was 16, when she saw I was making a little bit of money, she called me aside one day and she was like, Toni, this money, you have to use it wisely. Because when you're old, you need to be able to reap the fruits of your labor. And one way she told me to do that was obviously buying properties. And, you know, the way the Canadian market is right now, like, who wouldn't want, you know, to own a property? And
I always say the people that are the most upset about the real estate market right now are the people who are not owning. And this is in part why I really want to encourage everyone through creative strategy. It's possible to own.
Of course.
You know, maybe you're not making influencer money, but you can pool together, and there's so many different creative strategies to buy real estate.
Yeah.
Whether you have no money, whether you have bad credit, there's always a way in.
For sure.
And that you were able to, you know, have that message put into you from such a young age has obviously influenced your decision. And you recently purchased property, which is great.
Thank you.
And so, are you actively looking at, you know, how much money you're bringing in and thinking about like where to invest it?
Yes, of course. Just because, you know, I worry about my future. And another thing too is what people don't realize is when you're self-employed, you know, you don't have a pension fund to rely on from your work, right? When you're 60, are you going to be on camera saying, "Hey guys, welcome back to my channel"? You know what you know what I mean? So, you know, taking care of my future and just to ensure that I have that security set has always been like a priority on my mind, right? And so that's pretty much it about that.
And the importance of taking your money and then putting it into things.
Exactly.
I was just talking with someone earlier today about, you know, well, they're like, well, I've got this much money in my tax-free savings account. I'm like, it's not
barely doing
earning anything.
Let me tell you a funny story. So, I think about 2 years ago, like, you know, cryptocurrency is just like a big thing everywhere now, and everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin. You know, so when I first heard of Ethereum, this was around like 2017 or whatever, or 2018. I put in a little bit of money in there, right? And then like last year or 2019, the money like dipped like almost at zero, right? And I just kind of left it there because I knew it was long-term, whatever. I don't really care, right? And now when I look back at my account, I'm like, oh wow, only if I had put in way more, you know? So, you know, I feel like there are opportunities everywhere, and people maybe need to stop focusing on, you know, the quick gratification of, you know, saving their money right now. So definitely thinking long term in terms of like cryptocurrency, even mutual funds, GICs.
Well, the interest rate on that is like so low.
It's so low.
It's not even enticing at all.
But, you know, different options for different people. That's it.
And the point is to just get into some level of investment and just understanding that the purpose of making money is twofold. You earn the capital, and then you have to invest it in order for it to turn over and to grow.
Of course.
And, you know, the focus really should not be on simply just working and saving your paychecks. No, it's what you do with the cash that's really going to catapult you into that next phase.
I definitely agree.
So what's next for you? What do you have on the go? What are you thinking 5 years from now? Where would you love to see yourself?
5 years from now, hopefully I'm like really, really happy and just in a place of like real contentment, because sometimes like I'm always in my head, right? I'm like, am I doing enough? You know, have I done this? Have I done that? So like, hopefully I hope to be in like a better place where I'm just very content with what I'm doing, and I'm happy. Maybe a child, maybe a kid somewhere along the line, maybe. We'll see, you know. I'll be married by then. Hopefully a few more properties under my belt still as well. By the grace of God.
And if you had any advice that you could have given yourself, let's say 5-10 years ago, what would today's Toni give?
You got this. That's it.
Simple.
I got this.
And it's because I honestly think you do have this.
Thank you.
No. And I know you just mentioned that you get inside your head sometimes, and like this is really phenomenal at your age. You're 25.
Yeah, I'm 25. I just turned 25.
You're going places.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching another episode of the Build Up Podcast. You can find us on all platforms where podcasts are available. We're also on Instagram at BuildUpDevCo. Like, subscribe, share, and leave us a review.